Okay friend, welcome and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this particular video, I'm very sure that before you watch this video to the last end, you'll be able to make a perfect all-based vanilla cake, because I'll be giving you my recipes, taking you through the procedures, and giving you the perfect safety tips to make it lovely, adorable, and phenomenal. Let's get into it. So guys, just like the red velvet recipe recommendation videos we did right here, I'm also going to the main aim of this video is to take you through the perfect procedure, the perfect recipe, the do's and don'ts, and also the safety tips to achieve a perfect all-based vanilla cake. This recipe is perfect. It's lovely. I've done a recipe tour, different trials, different testing, and it came out perfectly well. It is suitable for fondant, it is suitable for buttercream, any kind of buttercream, be you Swiss meringue, be you American buttercream, Italian buttercream, fresh meringue, whatever, what are we or not, and even whipped cream. So this particular recipe is very easy. And so without wasting too much about time, let's get straight into it and see how this recipe goes. Now, this particular recipe is very easy to make. Let's see how it goes. So this is the video right here. Let me show you so you'll be able to see the video very well. So now it started by me making my base, and that is me adding adding sugar into a bowl. Then I added in the eggs. I'm using 2 eggs in this particular recipe, so you can double the recipe. A link to the recipe will be below. It's very easy. It's a sweet recipe, perfect one, right? So let's move on. So now you do 2 eggs. After that, you add in your flavor. I love to do this recipe. Okay, I did an initial trial when I did the I added the flavor at the end, and I noticed that it was a little bit very tangy, and I could perfectly smell the flavor afterwards. But then I had to reduce it at this point. It was initially 1 teaspoon and 1/4 teaspoon, 1 1/4 teaspoon. So I reduced it to 1 teaspoon, and it came out perfect. So you're gonna see the recipe right in the description below. Make sure you check the description. So after that, I added in the oil. Like now, we now have four things in the bowl. We have sugar, we have egg, we have flavor, and we have oil going in right now. After that, I made my milk. This is normal milk. It's not buttermilk. It's whatever. For those that want to know how I make my milk, I don't use evaporated milk. I use just normal. Like I dilute and I turn like a powdered milk into a liquid form. Like I just add in the water and I mix it together to make this one a perfect one, right? So now moving on from this part, adding in the milk, then I now started whisking it up together just to make it a perfect combination. Just nothing too much, just make it simple, right? Then afterwards, I now moved on to making my dry ingredients. I've made my wet ingredients perfect and it's set aside already. Now, for my dry ingredients, I added in the flour. After that, the flour, whatever. Which one are you calling it? I don't really know. Anyone that comes your way. Added in the flour. What is doing this for? I added in the flour, the baking powder, the salt, then I stirred to combine. Nothing much, nothing less. Just make sure you are just stirring it around. Afterwards, what are we doing here? So then I now added in the dry to the wet. I'm not doing it wet to the dry. I tried out the wet to the dry in a particular video before. If you've watched it, I'll link it up right here. And it came out a little bit tough. Why? Because adding in a wet ingredient into the dry will make you whisk over time and making you mix your batter overly, right? So you don't want to mix your batter for too much time. What you need is just folding it so in order not to activate the gluten in the flour to get activated before even getting into the oven to bake already. So what you do here is just I mix it just not too much. You can see how smooth and perfect that looks, right? It's so yummy. So at that point, what did I do next? You can see it's very lovely. The butter is perfect. So I just poured it into my baking pan. Nothing too much, nothing too less. Like just to do that. Nothing too much, nothing too less. So then afterwards, you want to just do, and it came out perfectly well. Like really well. By the way, sweethearts, there are lots of other videos on this channel exploring income, influence, and impact. So if that sounds interesting to you, which I'm sure it is, kindly subscribe right now and click the notification bell so that you won't miss out on any of the future uploads. Also, if you're getting value and feeling the vibe from this adorable content, make sure you click the like button and also drop a comment below. Let's continue. So guys, that is just things about this particular recipe. It came out lovely, like the way I expected it, right? So now let me now talk about a little bit of the tips, the tricks that I used. What am I saying? Let me now talk about the tricks or the tips I was able to use to arrive at this point, right? The first one is make sure that you mix your wet ingredients perfectly well before you start baking, like before you add in your wet ingredient. The second thing is you add in your dry to the wet. I mean, you add in your dry to the wet, not the wet to the dry. I explained the reason to that previously, right? So the third thing is make sure you are baking on medium heat. For those that are using oven, you bake on medium heat and you make sure you are placing your rack at the middle tier. And for those that are using the stove method, you make sure that you are having a stainless or something like an iron steel that will be able to absorb the heat coming directly from the gas or from the stove, whichever the one you are using, that will be able to neutralize and regulate the heat so it will not get into the baking pan directly. And also, you need to bake on medium heat, not too high, not too low. If you bake on the low, your cake is going to get over baked. Why? Because you're going to put it in the oven and it's going to have a lot of heat coming in for a longer time. So you want to make sure the heat is stabilized, it's perfect, it's not too much, it's not too low. Afterwards, once you finish baking, I don't keep my cakes in the oven once it's finished baking. Once I finish baking it, I bring it out of the oven. No oven test, you know the normal testing. You poke a toothpick in the middle and it comes out clean. So that is just how it goes. Thank you very much for watching this particular video. I would love you to join me in this video right here where I do another recommendation for my cinnamon rolls recipe. That video is amazing. You cannot miss it, right? Follow your joy, you know I love you. Mwah.